Welcome back to Module 3 in our series on building decarbonization. Engineers, designers, and contractors are particularly critical to building decarbonization because they touch so many phases of the project design and construction building lifecycle. From sourcing materials to design, pre-construction, construction, and maintenance, to communicating with owners and subcontractors, making them a conduit for change. Hello, I am Kent Peterson, and I will be your narrator for this module. This presentation series is presented in 4 modules. Our previous modules provided an overview of decarbonization, applicable terminology, and an overview of the global and embodied carbon issues. This module focuses on ASHRAE's involvement in building decarbonization. The last module will discuss a pathway to building decarbonization. I know all of this that we've seen in the first few modules is enough to make us scratch our heads and wonder, what will be the ultimate solution? There is undoubtedly plenty of policy information worldwide about decarbonizing the built environment. I like to refer to most of this as policy chaos. Many of these policies I have read and seen implemented are piecemeal and reactionary and not part of a well-organized master plan. I'll also admit that we do not have all of the building and electric grid solutions today to solve this problem. We need more innovation. 24/7 carbon-free, affordable energy will be needed for most of our supply to accomplish the zero net emission goals. But I also believe no challenge is too great for those of us committed to finding solutions. We have solved some large issues in the past. Most of us are trained to be creative problem solvers, and when it comes to solutions, simple and practical are better. We need these solutions to provide zero-carbon buildings that minimize our environmental impact and work economically. ASHRAE has a long history of improving building energy efficiency, one of the primary components of building decarbonization. In the mid-1970s, ASHRAE mounted an extraordinary effort to develop the United States' first energy conservation standard for new buildings. In 2007, ASHRAE publicly stated its vision to continually improve building energy performance and our standards with the goal of widespread market-viable net zero energy buildings by the year 2030. It was an aggressive goal 15 years ago, and we must meet it to accomplish zero-emission new buildings by 2030. In early 2021, ASHRAE formed the Task Force for Building Decarbonization. There is a need to understand that we all have a Herculean challenge before us. We will need to apply our knowledge and experience to provide cost-effective, practical, and innovative solutions. ASHRAE's Task Force for Building Decarbonization was set up to collaborate with other organizations worldwide and help fill knowledge gaps relative to building decarbonization. The Task Force Executive Committee provides strategic direction and collaboration with other global organizations. We have 8 working groups providing execution of our technical resources and training deliverables. This is a global issue, and the task force comprises of volunteers from around the world. ASHRAE's position is simple. Eliminating greenhouse gas emissions from the built environment is essential to address climate change. Our goals align with many others around the world. By 2030, the global built environment must cut 2015 greenhouse gas emissions in half, whereby we need all new buildings to be net zero greenhouse gas emissions in operation. We need to have widespread energy efficiency retrofits going on in existing building stock. And we also want to reduce embodied carbon in new construction by at least 40% by the time we get to 2030. It is worth noting that the European Union announced that all new buildings in the EU need to be net zero emissions by 2030. By 2050, at the latest, all new and existing assets must be net zero greenhouse gas emissions across the whole life cycle, including operational and embodied carbon. As an industry, we are responsible for considering the possibilities to accomplish these goals. ASHRAE is focused on 4 key areas for building decarbonization, centered around a global knowledge resource hub. These 4 areas are ASHRAE's position document, standards, technical tools, and education. We published an ASHRAE position document on building decarbonization in 2022. If interested, you can download this 15-page document from the ASHRAE website. We're working with the leadership of ASHRAE Energy Standards 90.1, 90.2, and 90.4, and our sustainability standards 189.1 and 189.3 to incorporate carbon metrics and target net zero new construction on or before 2030. We've started the development of a new code-intended whole life carbon standard in partnership with the International Code Council. We've also updated ASHRAE Standard 100 to address building performance standards, or energy and carbon performance of existing buildings. ASHRAE Standard 211 is our current standard for performing building energy audits. Many of you may be familiar with the standards ASHRAE Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 energy audits. Our industry needs a standard process for building decarbonization audits in existing buildings, so Standard 211 has recently been updated to include decarbonization audits. We also have numerous technical resource guides and corresponding education and training programs available with unders under development. You may recall in Module 1 that we indicated building performance standards are a policy that requires building owners to meet performance targets by actively improving their buildings over time. These can include energy or emission targets that buildings must meet to reduce energy and climate impacts. The objective of this first guide is to provide technical support for the building performance standards development and implementation. This guide is available on the ASHRAE website for free download. The Grid Interactive Buildings for Decarbonization Design and Operation Resource Guide is the second in the series of guides developed by ASHRAE and provides information on maximizing carbon reduction through buildings' interaction with the electric power grid. This guide is available on the ASHRAE website for purchase. The purpose of the Decarbonizing Hospital Buildings Guide is to describe what it means to decarbonize a new hospital building, to show that it is practical to accomplish today, and describe strategies to get it done. This guide will be available on the ASHRAE website for purchase in April 2024. The objective of this Decarbonizing Building Thermal Systems Guide is to provide design engineers with the techniques and practices needed to incorporate various types of heat pump technologies in buildings in multiple climates for decarbonization. This guide is being developed with the Department of Energy and National Renewable Energy Labs and will be available for free on the ASHRAE website by May 2024. The purpose of this guide is to provide design engineers with a framework for decarbonizing existing commercial and multifamily buildings, along with specific solutions, guidance, and case studies for these 2 building sectors. This guide will be available on the ASHRAE website for purchase by July 2024. This guide aims to provide a North American version of SIBC's popular technical manual TM65, Embodied Carbon in Building Services, a calculation methodology. TM65 provides a methodology to collect data from building services equipment suppliers so that designers can better understand the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems carbon impact of engineering decisions and make embodied carbon reduction a key design driver. This guide will be available on the ASHRAE website for purchase by July of 2024. This guide will provide ASHRAE members and others with the definitions, concepts, and comprehensive guidance needed to calculate, interpret, and integrate life cycle data from multiple sources to design mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems for low whole life carbon emissions. This guide will be available on the ASHRAE website for purchase in August of 2024. Training and education programs for these areas will also be available with the technical guides for workforce development. The first few courses will be available in the second half of 2024. ASHRAE has 2 popular 3-hour ASHRAE Learning Institute courses that introduce building decarbonization and cover the fundamentals of decarbonizing design when applying to systems and equipment selection. 2 additional advanced courses are being developed that will be available later in 2024. The first course is how to apply whole-life carbon strategies to new building design, and will cover the principles of analyzing mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system carbon impact via whole-life carbon assessment of new construction and provide best practices and tips to help building owners make the best decision. The second course under development is the Advanced Designs for Net Zero Energy and Low Carbon Buildings course, and it's tailored to provide professional engineers and architects seeking to expand their expertise to include the design, construction, and operation of zero energy or net zero buildings. The key takeaways from this module include the following. ASHRAE is committed to developing guidance and training needed to support you and others in our industry as we address reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the built environment. This includes vital ASHRAE standards evolving to provide industry consensus relative to decarbonization requirements. As we reviewed, ASHRAE's published its first 2 decarbonization guides and is on schedule to complete the remaining 5 guides in 2024. And training and education programs are being developed to help train our members in these strategies and techniques. This concludes the 3rd module. Please join us for the 4th module to explore the pathway to decarbonization.